Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray. I am a detransition male, and today we're going to be talking about transmaxing. If you haven't heard of this, this is the phenomenon of males deciding to transition to become trans women in order to gain benefits because they feel like their lives are going to be made better by the fact that they transition. So this is different than the traditional narrative around transgenderism, which is that, people transition because they have some, gender identity mismatch. They're born in the wrong body or something like this. There's some sort of metaphysical aspect of their essence that necessitates them to transition. Whereas with transmaxing, the motivation is much more utilitarian. They basically say that their lives will be made better. So it's a deeply pragmatic philosophy. Now, do want to say that despite the statements from the transmaxers saying that they're doing this because they want their lives to improve, I don't think this is a contradiction to the Blanchardian typology that distinguishes between two different motivations to transition. One being, you're a naturally effeminate homosexual male, and then the other one is that you have autogynephilia. I think most transmaxers likely have some degree of autogynephilia. I don't think transmaxing would be appealing to you if you didn't have some underlying degree or disposition um, of autogynephilia. But nevertheless, I think with transmaxing, you can have a case where the dysphoria that results from your underlying autogynephilia, it's not that intense. So you have pretty mild gender dysphoria, but because you perceive yourself to have all these social benefits from transitioning, you're going to go ahead and transition even though you're not crippled by your gender dysphoria. It's more about dissatisfaction with the male gender role. So I got a lot of stuff to cover today. So I'm gonna do a deep dive on this. So this is a very fascinating topic to me. Okay. So this all sort of kicked off by this transmaxing manifesto, where this person writes, there are many potential benefits from transitioning from male to female. Sexual excitement from having a feminine body, obviously that's autogynephilia. So you transition and that satisfies your underlying autogynephilic desires. So that's perceived as a benefit. The superiority of female aesthetics, access to dating other trans women, full body orgasms, multiple orgasms from penile stimulation. I think that's misleading because actually, like a lot of trans women report that their orgasms are weaker after transition. So that's not always the case. In like my own personal experience, when I was on hormones, like my orgasms were definitely like not as pleasurable compared to prior. Um, you will feel emotions stronger and be happier on estrogen. That's not necessarily directly related to the estrogen. That might just be a benefit from the social aspects of like your life improving, but not necessarily from like directly from the estrogen itself. Breasts will become sensitive. That's not always a good thing. Sometimes like that can be very painful. Like breast buds can be very painful. Be able to attract cis lesbians if you become attractive enough. This is controversial because like obviously some people are going to say that like, well, if you're attracted to a male, then you can't possibly be a lesbian. You're bisexual, but that's debatable. I actually dated like a gold star lesbian who had been lesbian identified female from high school and like had never been with any man or male in her entire life, but we ended up getting together. I kind of thought that she might have had like a kind of like a fetish for trans women or something, but I could be wrong about that. Or I thought she might have been an auto androphile. High quality males will be attracted to you, softer skin and less no acne. So the high quality males, that they're going to be attracted to you for sex. But like very rarely will they want to settle down and marry you. Softer skin, less no acne. That's probably true. Live longer. I don't know about that. Being able to extract resources from males. You will no longer be driven to do dangerous and idiotic things. Stop and reverse hair loss. I think this is a big one. Like a lot of men are just like terrified of losing their hair because they feel like they're just gonna be so ugly, um, going bald, and so that's like scared. They like don't want to lose their like youthfulness, or they feel like they will never be successful on the dating market if they're balding. People will treat you better if they think you're a female. Less likely to be killed. Female spaces are cleaner and generally more pleasant. Not having to shower with males. Legal sex change becomes more viable. Cheaper car insurance, getting diversity hired. The diversity hire thing is definitely like a real phenomenon. I remember like I got into my technology career because there was this like technology programming boot camp that they had like a special program for like apprenticeship for females and non-binary and trans people. So I definitely that definitely was like a benefit in like my own life. Okay, but the core thing though is they say since females have the upper hand on the dating market, transitioning from male to female will usually improve your options when it comes to getting sex. In addition, the sex you enjoy as a female will be of higher quality. The opposite is true of females transitioning to male. Okay, so this is a pretty common thing in like the sort of transmaxing community. This idea that you're just going to have like more success dating and getting sex as like a trans woman than you are as a male. And so one sort of post here in the transmaxing subreddit is the male gender role is irreparably broken. Let's face it, if you present as male, there's exactly one personality that will earn you social approval: Chad. Assertive, dominant, successful. Nobody will be impressed by a male that is meek, submissive, and struggling. Such males are not considered gender trailblazers. They're just derided as incel neats. I can't remember exactly what neat stands for. Uh, not education. Yeah, not in education or employment. So you're not a student and you're unemployed. That's like basically it. So an incel, not employed, not in education, and so just kind of like your kind of stereotypical loser guy, living in his mom's basement, playing video games, and like not having any dating success. Nobody is offering an actual solution to this. Trad cons will tell you just to man up. Terps tell you to just abolish gender. Liberals deny this reality altogether. By embracing girl mode, you actually become free to be your authentic self without shame. Society at large requires men to keep grinding and struggling to keep the lights on. So obviously, no serious and respectable person will encourage you to just drop down the pink vortex, but it's possibly the only thing that will actually help you if you're stuck being a shitty male with no prospects. So that is a very common thing, and so I think it's this failed male, this like incel to trans pipeline, this idea that there's like something just like really hard about being like a guy. There's like a lack of like positive role models for men. There's like this crisis of like masculinity in like the West, such that it's like we like a lot of men don't have like a positive conception of masculinity because they perceive the like only way to be a successful man is to be that Chad character, that like dominant man, because those are the men that seem to have the most success on the dating market. And there's some certain statistics that kind of bear this out. So I want to show some statistics here from Tinder. So these are Tinder dating statistics. The median match rate for women on Tinder is 36%, for men 1.8%. The majority of women on Tinder swipe right. About one in 20 people, 5%, while men swipe right every second person. So basically, like most women don't like Matt, or they like don't find most men on dating apps attractive. So they're only finding 5% of the men to be worthy of swiping right, whereas men will basically swipe right on pretty much everybody. The majority of women on Tinder swipe left 95% of people, while men swipe left 47% of people. Despite women's high selectivity, female users have a significantly higher success rate than men. The median female users receives about 2.75 Tinder matches per day, while the median male users receives 1.1 matches per day. That's because they're swiping so many times, and they're kind of like lowering their standards. Whereas like the females like maintain like incredibly high standards and are successful doing that. That this means that a woman would need to swipe right 3 people to get a match, while a man would need to swipe right over 50 people for a match. Um, about 76% of Tinder users are male and only 24% female, a 3-to-1 gender ratio. Um, okay, yeah. So another thing to keep in mind here is that there's some statistics coming out of OkCupid saying that a study by dating app OkCupid found that women find 80% of men unattractive or below average. So the vast majority of men out there, women don't find them attractive. So this is fueling this sort of like idea that the male gender role is irreparably broken, because you have to sort of be successful. You have to be too rich to be rich and wealthy, and and like very good looking, and just like the like vast majority of women don't find the vast majority of men physically attractive enough to like want to jump their bones. But so the only way to sort of get with women is to increase like your provider characteristics, such that you have like a good career. You can be a good family man. You can provide for a family and provide for like women. That's like sort of like the alternative pathway, if you're not like very naturally physically attractive, is to be a successful person such that you can provide monetary and support to like your family. And that's kind of and that happens more when you're in your 30s, when like the women are looking to like settle down with someone who can care for them. Okay, so here's another thing. Every ugly dude look like a 10 when you put them through the face app gender swap filter. That shit is like magic. Same for the physical, not face app gender swap. Ugly guys should just transition. So that's again this idea that the vast majority of men, women don't find them attractive, but there's this idea that if you transition, you're going to perceive to be more attractive as a trans woman. I mean, and partly this is like a supply and demand thing, because there's so many men out there who have a sort of paraphilic kink for trans women. And since there's not that many trans women, you actually become like in demand. And so that increases your like opportunities on the dating market, because you're this now you're r- rather than being part of this 80% of like men that like aren't having success, or these like men on like Tinder who rarely get any matches, like a 1.8% match rate. If you're a trans woman, then you're going to be able to get access to easy sex, because you are a rare commodity in the dating market, which will allow you to get hookups way easier, because you are more in demand, and there's like a low supply. um but it's still going to be hard for you to find like a relationship to settle down long term, because like most men want to have like a family. But also, like the Transmaxxing manifesto said, you can now have access to the dating pool of trans women, so you can sort of like date other trans women, which is very common in the feminine community. So here's another one. Is being a man a dangerous lifestyle fetish? Entire life dedicated to cooming and pleasing your penis, shortened lifespan, self-destructive and high-risk behavior common, often destroy their lives. trying to get laid, high suicide rate. Why should we not inject every man with HRT for his own safety? Um, People will treat you better if you pass as a female. Um, I think men are getting really fucked over now. There's supposedly supposed to be positivity for men to be feminine, but in real life, it doesn't turn out well. I almost feel like now that I passed pretty well as a woman, I'm much more respected by people in my city instead of being shunned by men for being weird and like and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that word, F wordy. They now open doors for me and pick up stuff that I drop. It's the same kind of men too. The most conservative, manly men would call me gay are now hitting on me and sucking up to me. So yeah, there's this idea that being a feminine man is not like acceptable, but being a trans woman is an acceptable way for a male to express being feminine. And so they like say like there's no social role for feminine men. There's no social role for these sensitive men. So virgin, antidepressant user, not cute, never will be, getting regular, will never have a girlfriend, destroyed personality to be more useful to a system that hates him, atomized individual, literally nobody cares about you, shit clothes, um, the antidepressant pills don't work, will be forgotten immediately. Seriously, there's millions of you, not actually happy, lied to by chemical, kill sex drive, frustrated, fright politics. Where's the transitioner? Growing more feminine, basically living a sexual fantasy. Okay, that's like AGP. One of the most oppressed minorities, women and leftists will love you. Yes, you definitely do get a lot of attention from like leftists, like being like a trans woman. You're like status in the like leftist community will be elevated because now you're an oppressed minority and you get a lot of attention and resources and support and like programming and like you get basically be like a political token. Authentic happiness, can sleep with men whenever she wants, probably with women too. You're actually special and worth remembering, on the right side of history, gets to wear fun stuff, massive friends group of transitioners and cis women, expresses personality fully. um, okay. Here's like another one. Not only did transitioning save my life, it got me out of inceldom. I'm so thankful I was blessed with gender dysphoria. When I was living as a man, I was basically hopeless. I had horrible anxiety. I was ugly. I had only one relationship under my belt that lasted 3 months, and we never even had sex. We only kissed before she dumped me. I started transitioning 8 months ago, taking hormones and getting laser hair removal since then. I've had five sexual encounters with three different women. You know why? Because I'm a cute girl and not an ugly man. They were all women who were out of my league when I was living as male, but women these days are super into me. Um, I was a depressed, kissless, jobless, forever alone, hikikomori virgin living in my parents' basement, and now I'm a successful uh, porn star with two girlfriends and tons of friends. Okay, so this is, I think, interesting because like we're s- we're seeing a pattern here, and I think ultimately this is all being driven by autogynephilia, such that if you don't have that underlying predisposing factor of internalized attraction, that like inverted heterosexuality, I don't think the transmaxing pathway would ever appeal to you, because there are way more incels who don't go down the transmaxing pipeline than there are incels that do. And I think the dividing factor in terms of what determines whether you find the transmaxing pathway to be appealing is because you have the underlying autogynephilia. Because like as I pointed out, and in a lot of those posts and in the manifesto itself, like literally the first point was that it gives you some sexual satisfaction in order to do this. But I think because the gender dysphoria created by autogynephilia comes in a spectrum of intensity. Whereas I think like 20, 30 years ago, the only AGPs that would transition were the ones who had severe dysphoria. Whereas now you're seeing young AGP males who don't have severe dysphoria. They're transitioning anyway because they perceive themselves to be failed males, because they don't find any positivity in the male gender role, because they're not getting any dating success. They're not having any success in the dating market, in the sexual marketplace. They're just like perceive themselves to be losers, and they just think that their life is going to be made better transitioning, because trans women are perceived to be special, because trans women are kind of like a kinky specialty, so they get like more like action. There is yeah, so it's just like perceived to be better. And I definitely understand the sort of underlying psychology behind this, because I do think that as a society right now, it is it is not like that easy to be a guy. And a lot of people, like a lot of feminists, they say like, oh well, men have it easy because we're living under patriarchy or whatever. But they're referring to like the top 5% of men, the top 1% of men, like the CEOs, the executives, the politicians, the powerful men of society. Yeah, 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 like they might have it good, but for the vast majority of men, these like 80% of men, like no one finds them attractive. They're the dregs of society. They're working shit jobs. They're working in the sewers, working in construction. Um, there are about 60% of all bachelor degrees are now awarded to women. Whereas when Title IX was implemented back in like the 70s, I think it was, that was like the gender ratio was flipped, such that back then it was like 60% of bachelor degrees or were awarded to men. And that was perceived to be such an egregious injustice that it warranted putting in all these special programs to try and boost the educational prospects of women, to get more women into the workplace, more women into education. Whereas now the things that have like flipped, such that women are the ones who are doing better in school. The women are the one who are getting more degrees. The like women are like earning in the workplace just as much as men now. And so a lot of men feel like they're being left behind by society. They're like dropping out of society. They're sort of, going their own way. They're not, finding success as like men. And so I think that this like trans identification is like appealing to them, because it that they like want to be perceived, they like want to be desired, they don't feel like they can live up to this like expectation to be the masculine dominant male. They like don't feel like that they can look smacks to like try and like improve their looks, and they don't feel confident in their ability to like earn like a high paying job in order to go down the provider pathway of being desired by like women because of your ability to provide resources and like all this stuff. So like a lot of men just feel like they're being left behind, and they just are kind of like you know just choosing to be lifelong bachelors, choosing to be single. And like honestly, I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all, because like that's like not like a bad um thing. Is just to kind of drop out, because it's just like tough to be a guy these days. There's like not a lot of positive masculinity. It's so hard to have a positive sense of masculinity, particularly if you're one of these like autistic or Aspergery, or sensitive. You're just not this kind of like macho d- d- dominant guy. And like, yeah, I think this is, we like need to come to terms with this. We like need to provide more resources for men. We need more positive male role models. And this is part of what I want to do on my channel, is provide, a pathway for men who have autogynephilia to feel like they can live successful lives, and they don't have to go down this like transition pipeline. Now I'm not saying it's like always necessarily like a bad thing, but the problem is once you go down this pipeline, you start feeling yourself entitled to use female spaces. You start feeling entitled to encroach on like female rights and stuff. And I think that's problematic. And also, once you start going down this transition pipeline, it's very easy to become indoctrinated into gender identity ideology, such that you start believing these like bad metaphysical delusions that you were born a woman, you're like a woman on the inside, and like all the philosophical problems that come from gender identity theory. But a lot of these transmaxers, to their credit, they know deep down that they are men and that they're only transitioning for pragmatic purposes. So in that sense, they have a more healthy attitude about metaphysical reality because they recognize that they're men, they're males, they will never be women. They just have come to the belief that the female gender role in society is like easier than the male gender role. And I don't necessarily have like easy answers to these men, these like failed males, these like incels, because it is not easy to be a guy, and there's no easy fast solution here. Now, I would want to say that focusing on chasing excellence, being successful, finding achievement, and like not thinking that you have to focus your life around chasing women, trying to get laid. Like there's more to life than that. Like focus on like be like mastering something, like achieving something, becoming successful, chasing excellence, focus on yourself, like and not putting women on the pedestal, and not thinking that you know, that women are the greatest thing, or that your life is like not worth living because, you're not getting the attention from like women or whatever. So I like do think it's important to encourage men to like find positivity in like being a man, and like just chasing excellence as a man, finding achievement, finding mastery, and like all these things that are typical of the more traditional masculinity, and like finding positivity in masculinity, and also destigmatizing gender nonconformity in males, such that you can just be like a femboy and still have access to these like dating markets, because there's a lot of men out there, the same men who want to date the trans women, they also would date a femboy. So you can go down this like feminizing maxing pathway and become feminine, but you don't have to take on the identity of like I'm a woman or I'm trans. You can say like I'm like a gender not conforming male, I'm like a femboy, I'm like a cross dresser, I'm whatever. And you don't have to take on this whole like trans identity thing. And you don't have to try and pass yourself off and like use female spaces and feel entitled to female spaces and play on the women's sports team and all these things. You can just be a feminine man, a gender nonconforming man, be a crossdresser, and you're still going to have some amount of people who want to date you or have sex with you, but you sort of have to you know learn to overcome the stigma, learn to overcome the shame, like learn to embrace your sexuality openly. And but I know that's hard because people think that they're going to get labeled as like gay or whatever, and or like not have success, but you just have to embrace it, because there's a lot of people who are into feminine men, but it's like a niche dating market. So okay, so obviously I just barely scratched the surface here. This is like a huge topic. It gets into many different aspects of like dating psychology, and like modern dating, and like modern relationships, and it's just like the struggles that like men face on the dating markets, and like the whole incel thing. But I like wanted to touch on this for a while now because it's such an important pathway, because it is one of the newer pathways towards trans identification, rather than the more traditional gender dysphoria, trapped in like the wrong body. I think this failed male thing is actually incredibly more common than people realize. So, uh, okay, I hope you guys found this interesting or insightful. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.